The Buffalo Bills just hit the motherload of good news. Today, we're going to be breaking down 3 bits of information that are new as of the last 24 hours and ultimately see how it's pushing us to have a greater level of momentum going into the regular season against the week 1 matchup against the Baltimore Ravens. But hey, my name's Colin and this is Crack the Table. We're all Bills, no breaks. If you are a diehard Buffalo Bills fan, if you love cracking tables, if you love tailgating, if you love winter football, if you love Josh Allen, if you love Brandon Beane, if you love the Buffalo Bills, make sure to hit the like, subscribe, and even question for you right here. What was your favorite part of Hard Knocks last night? Was it the QB segment? Was it the receiver segment? Or like me, was it the Jimmy Charlo segment? Comment below and we'll talk about it a little bit more in this video. I'll tell you what my favorite part was. But hey, I want to get right into this information that's hot off the press. The first piece of information is the signing of All-Pro safety Jordan Poyer, a guy who's been on our team for a handful of years, but ultimately last year was on the Dolphins, which again, that kind of hurt. In some ways, he helped us last year with a penalty later on in the season. But again, this is a guy who's being signed to our practice squad and who is going to probably be helping our team in a handful of ways. He's a depth player who's on our practice squad, who's going to ultimately bring a level of stabilization to our team because he's a culture fit, right? He's a leadership fit. He has knowledge of Bobby Babbitt's defense and system, and he's going to offer mentorship specifically to a guy who's like a second-year player of like Cole Bishop. He's a proven, again, all-pro player. He's got 22, career interceptions. And he raises the secondary ceiling without even being on the active roster. He's going to help avoid a leadership gap, which often we can see, especially in position groups like the secondary, when we have young players in that. But ultimately, this is a ceiling move that's going to increase our ceiling and stability throughout the year. And the headline of this move is that a veteran leader returns, but the good news doesn't stop there. The other good news that we see even from this tweet, but also just from other news that's coming out right now is that Alec Anderson is not starting the year on the short-term injured reserve, which means that he's going to be ready early on in the season to play potentially even for week 1 as a depth piece against the Ravens. Alec Anderson is not a household name yet, but even as Dean Dawkins says here in this interview, that he is a hidden gem who can play every single position on the offensive line. Again, we have had in the last year one of the top 3 or 4 offensive lines in the entire league. We're healthy, we're good to go, but Alec Anderson as a depth piece being ready for the start of this year is just even further bolstering our offensive line as we lean into this week 1 matchup against a pretty good Baltimore Ravens defense and what they're going to throw at us. Again, this is exactly what Buffalo needs at the perfect time. We're getting good players, depth pieces especially, that are getting healthy and that are going to be ready for the beginning of the season. Again, this is going to give Aaron Cromer, our offensive line coach, another chess piece to play with. And again, even as we talked about in previous videos, our offensive line depth, specifically the ability to run jumbo sets, which means that we're having a 6th offensive lineman in the set. We are the most efficient and best offense in jumbo sets. I've shared this before again, but in the NFL last year, we averaged 6 yards per play, and we had the most touchdowns out of jumbo sets. In the league average last year was only 3.5 yards per play in jumbo sets, which means we are almost doubling the amount of yards that other teams are getting as a result of us having this advantage with our offensive line. Alec Anderson gives us the ability to maintain that, to have consistency in that, and even to protect Josh Allen, which is the mission. Again, Anderson's return signals more stability and it signals an O-line boost, especially going to a hard AFC matchup week 1 against the Ravens. But again, before we get into the last piece of information, I just want to tell you what my favorite part of Hard Knocks was last night. For me, it wasn't the QB segment, though that was really cool to see how they used all the different cameras and to catch the videos. That was fun. Maybe that was your favorite part. But my favorite part was with Jimmy Charlo. Him, talking to his dad on the phone, him coming from the Jets, tearing his ACL, finding his way onto our roster like literally less than 2 weeks ago, playing nickel corner and even just some of the tackles and plays that he made, the call out of Sean McDermott, even last week in Hard Knocks, of him just acknowledging how good of a player he was or how good of a play he made. But it's a bummer to see him get cut. I think it's just a matter of time till he makes a roster. Maybe he gets through waivers. Maybe he's going to be on our practice squad. But I just want to welcome you again. Comment below. What was your favorite part of Hard Knocks last night? And let's talk about it. Let's process through it in the comments. But hey, our last bit of information, which I think, to be honest, we've all been waiting for all year, is our boy Tyrell Shavers, the cherry on top, the good news trifecta, a dark horse wideout, makes the roster. We have been waiting all year for this. I called this out about a month ago, that Tyrell Shavers, as a result of his play at the end of the year last year, his work ethic all the way through this summer in training camp, has earned him the privilege of starting the year on the active roster for the Buffalo Bills. Again, this guy is on the 53-man roster. Welcome to the team, Tyrell Shavers. He's a special team stud. He's a depth wideout. He's a 6'4" target who's fought for this spot. Every single year, we see guys who come under the radar, who've got a level of grit, who've got a level of speed and focus and intentionality, who end up making the roster. And this guy, I think, has the ability to take the top off defenses and make plays throughout the year that's really going to vault us over the competition week in and week out. But just look at this one-handed catch from this last week in the preseason game against the Buccaneers. Insane coordination, originally not called a touchdown, reviewed, both feet in. He held the ball securely. He got the touchdown. Even looking back at last year, at the 69-yard touchdown that he had from Trubisky, where he weaved in and out of the defense, bobbed in and out of just defenders, massive yards after catch play. And even earlier this preseason, the deep bomb that he had from Mitch Trubisky that was ultimately underthrown. He made the adjustment with his 4.4 speed and his 6'4" frame. He made the adjustment, caught the ball, could and should have been a touchdown if Josh Allen threw it. But with Mitch Trubisky's arm not getting the ball as far downfield, we still saw this guy adjust, make the catch. And again, this is about roster balance. This is about a special team ceiling being raised. And ultimately, again, this is about toughness, versatility. And again, the headline for this is that Shavers stays. We love to see it. He says, God is truly amazing. When you put it all together, all three of these headlines show that there's a massive amount of momentum heading into week one against this big AFC matchup against the Ravens. And so we're here for it. We've got a level of stability in our safety room that honestly, I was really worried about. With Bishop's injury, with Damar Hamlin not playing well, I was worried about it. Jordan Poyer, whether he stays on the practice squad or he gets elevated for a game day or something, we'll see what happens. But Anderson locks now down the offensive line and gives us a 6th depth piece, a 7th depth piece that can play anywhere at guard or tackle. And so we have a level of assurance that even if we get an injury, if we get nicked up, we've got a good player who's healthy that can come in and play strong. But then the Shavers signing of him making the 53-man roster just gets us all jacked and excited for what ultimately this roster can bring in 2025. But hey, drop your comments below. Drop your thoughts below. Which piece of news fires you up the most ahead of this 2025 season? This is Crack the Table. I'm Colin. We're all Bills, no breaks. We'll see you tomorrow.